Minecraft speedrunning. We all know it and love it. But the question is, we all love Minecraft speedrunning. And over the years, the most popular version has always been 1.16 any% random seed glitchless. A lot has changed since the early days of the category, and so in this video, I'm going to go over which runs are the best. Now, the layman might say the faster run is the better run, but me? No. I'm a man of integrity. I'm going to be thinking about things like the aesthetic pleasure of the run, how ahead of its time it was, how much it changed from the previous run, how much time was cut from the previous run. And at the end of the day, we're going to get to the bottom of which Minecraft 1.16 RSG world records really stood the test of time the best. Starting at the very beginning here with Benex, 24 minutes, 32 seconds on June 26, 2020, the very first record ever set in the category. This run means a lot. You know, it didn't get much attention at the time, but we wouldn't be here without it today. It was the first Minecraft speedrun I ever made a video about, I think. And that's pretty cool. At the end of the day, it's pretty fun to go back and watch, you know? There's no one cycling, there's no bastions, obviously, no hypermodern strats or anything resembling what speedruns today look like. It's kind of just Minecraft in its purest form, except with some piglin trading thrown in the mix. I'd say on paper, this is not a great run in terms of aesthetic pleasure. It definitely wasn't ahead of its time or anything, but there's some nostalgia bias to be had here. I'm going to put this one just at a solid C tier. It did set the standard, after all. So in there, that goes. All right, next up, just about a week later, we've got the 2108 by NiceTwice. This is not too different strategically from Benex's run. Massive time cut, obviously, about 3.5 minutes. But again, obviously no hypermodern, no one cycling. Well, there was like a pseudo one cycle involved, but he didn't kill the dragon just with beds in one cycle. He had more of a, I guess, similar to a half bow end fight. This run did kind of show us just how crazy the new piglin trades were, you know, with no strat changes at all from Benex's run. Got the run down to 21 minutes, which was already either competing with or bit faster than the world records in the other existing categories at the time. Now, again, because this run didn't really have any major breakthroughs in terms of strats or, like, minute barriers, I think this run is probably going to have to end up around the D tier. Still obviously a classic run. But yeah, from a strategic standpoint and from an aesthetic standpoint, nothing really stands out about this run. Still, important place in history. We'll put it in the D tier. All right, next up, we got a big one. The 1941 by The Sizzler, who, let's just say, long story short, did some
messed up stuff.
We don't like him anymore. He's not really in the community anymore. Moving past that, just looking at the run, it broke the 20-minute barrier. Obviously a massive deal. It was incredibly exciting for the community at the time. It was a run that we looked back to for a long time afterwards as being very important. It's hard to say that it hasn't been tainted a little, because a part of what we loved about this run came from the personality of Sizzler, and that's not something we are really able to enjoy anymore. But from an objective point of view, it would be remiss not to acknowledge the significance of the first ever sub 20 in Minecraft RSG. Let me just double check that I'm right about that. It was the first sub 20, right? It had to be. There's no way it wasn't the first sub 20. Yeah, no, it was the first sub 20. It was the first sub 20. So, that alone, I think we're going to end up putting this one in B tier. Yeah, I'm feeling a B tier. So next up, we've got a 1937 from Dimeax, about a month after Sizzler's record. This run really doesn't have that much going for it. Besides the fact that it was a world record, it wasn't super notable. Got a fun little village at the beginning. Exciting blaze fight. I don't know. It was only I knew that. 4 seconds. 4 second cut. It really, in the context of all the Minecraft world records we're going to look at in this video, Nothing too special. So I'm reserving the right to move these around when we get later in the list, but for now I'm going to put this one down in the E tier. I might end up bumping the NiceTwice run down there too. We'll see. We'll see how the list ends up. Okay, now next up. Next up is a good one. Just 10 days after the 1937, 1726 by the same guy. Now, this wasn't the only time we were going to get back-to-back world records by the same runner, but it was the first time that it happened in this category. And over 2 minutes of time cut, like, that was a huge deal. Like, we had just finally gotten sub 20, and all of a sudden down to 1730. Plus, can't go without mentioning that this is the first 1.16 world record to use nether travel, meaning building a second portal in the nether to travel faster. Dimeax didn't actually build the portal. He found a completable ruined portal, but it worked. He came out of the nether right near the stronghold, and that would eventually become, like, you can't even consider setting a world record today without doing that. So this is a really important run and really exciting at the time and really fun to watch and everything. Like when he threw that eye after coming out of the nether and the stronghold was so close, you had to be there. You had to be there. So this one's gonna get I'm between A and S. I feel like there's a lot of runs I'm gonna want to put in S tier. So for now I'm just gonna put this one as a strong A tier. And we'll go with that. So, like, how could you top that? How could you possibly top that? By getting a sub 15 10 days later. I don't know what Korbanoes was on when this run happened, but this was, at the time, seen as, like, the perfect run. Like, obviously, people knew that there were new strats being developed, and Hypermodern was pretty close to being fully implemented as the new meta, so no one thought this would be unbroken. But if you just look at it from the perspective of only using classic strats, which is what all the runs up to this point have used, this run seemed unbeatable at the time, and it took a long time for someone to get a better classic run than 1456. This run doesn't have that much going for it in terms of innovation or aesthetic appeal, but it was just incredibly shocking at the time. Just 10 days after Dimeax broke the record by over 2 minutes, Korbanoes did it again, breaking the 15-minute barrier. Like, this was when we were like, whoa. Minecraft speedrunning has changed forever, because never before had world records been getting lowered this quickly. Like, I don't know what else to say about this run. I mean, we made a video questioning if it was faked. That's how fast it was. We thought it might have been faked, partially, you know, because I might not have been the most knowledgeable about the way Piglin trades worked at the time, but that's how fast it was. That's how fast it was. Also, and I don't mean to keep bringing my own personal connections into this, but the video about this run is the one that blew up, and, like, without this run, you would never have seen a weekly thing video, so shout out Korbanoes for that. This one has got to go. I don't think it's quite S tier, I'm not gonna lie. I just don't think it quite has the innovation or aesthetic appeal to be there, but another strong A tier. Next up is a big one. Couriway. You've heard of Couriway. You've heard of Couriway. He only broke the world record by 20 seconds. But this run was the beginning of a new era. This run was the beginning of Hypermodern, which is still the meta to this day. It's funny to think back that only a 20-second time cut was the sign of a meta that would cut this world record practically in half. But that's how ahead of its time this run was. There's really no way to not put this in S tier. This is the first Hypermodern run. Plus, it's Couriway's world record that made him blow up. Like, we all love Couriway. He wouldn't be where he is without this run. Like, of course this is an S tier run. Of course it is. Okay, next up, we got a classic. Reignex. The first world record of 2021. 30-second time cut. 1407. This run, it's the second Hypermodern run. It's the first one to use a treasure bastion. We all learned a lot about treasure routes when Reignex got this world record. It definitely doesn't stand out as much as Couriway's trend-setting one, but there's something intangible about this run that I really just... I have a fond association with this run. Plus, we all love Reignex. Look at that cozy little bear. Who wouldn't love that guy? You know? I'm gonna have to put this one in B tier. Yeah, B. B for bear. B tier. Next up, we have the smallest time cut on this entire list, in that it is not a time cut. It is a tied world record. Zylenox getting a 14:07 a couple weeks after Reignex gets the same time. Now, this run is... Sorry, I'm sick while I'm recording this, if you couldn't tell. This run is extremely unique for a couple of reasons. One, it tied the world record. That's novel enough, right? That's very exciting. But two, while locating the stronghold in this run, Zylenox paused to do some calculations in his head to triangulate the stronghold. This started a war. The entire community was in shambles for the foreseeable future based over the debate over whether pausing for various purposes should count towards your time. Up until that point, it had been purely in-game time, which counted towards the record, and for a while it would stay that way. But this run was the beginning of something that would continue to escalate in a big way and change the way we measured Minecraft speedruns afterwards. So the run itself, I don't know that there's that much that's special about it, but for those two reasons: one, it tied an existing world record, that's rare enough, and two, Zylenox did his little pausey thinky. That's Minecraft history right there. So I'm going to put this in B tier. Yeah, I'm feeling a B. Next up, we got a big boy. We got everybody's favorite, Mr. Illumina, with a 13-minute, 53-second run. 53-second run. I didn't stutter. I never stutter. Fun fact, this is the most viewed YouTube video out of these world records. No idea why. This was a very
invigorating
run to watch when it came out at the time, because Illumina's gameplay is always just so fun to watch. It's so clean, it's smooth, it's pristine and efficient. It's just, you feel it. You feel it when you're watching him play. It broke the 14-minute barrier. Not a huge deal, but worth mentioning. It was Fortress before Bastion, which was rare, still is rare. And I guess this will be a trend as we get faster and faster down the line, and I'm probably going to have to bump some stuff down this list by the time we get to the end, because I can already feel where this is going. But I am a fan of this run, and I will put it no lower than B tier. So the list looks unbalanced. That's because it is. Okay, next up, we've got an interesting one, 1348 by TwoLetterName. Now, this was interesting for a couple reasons. It's just 3 days after Illumina's 1353, tiny time cut, just 5 seconds. But most importantly, very few people knew who TwoLetterName was when this run happened. I'm not going to say no one did, because I'm sure there were some people who were really invested in keeping track of the leaderboard who had heard his name before. But this was maybe the first world record we had that really felt like it just came out of nowhere. Like, people were not watching this guy when he set this world record. Now, this run was also very significant because it was the first one to use an underwater magma ravine to enter the nether. It's hard to rank this one too high because it was such a tiny time cut and because of what would come next, but I do have to acknowledge it was the first ocean entry. So for that, I think we're going to put it in... Okay, you know what? The more I think about it, Zylenox's run, just because of the pausing thing, it shouldn't be in B tier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bump Zylenox down, I think, to... we'll put him in C tier for now. And we'll put TwoLetterName up in B tier. Now, next up, we got a whopper of a world record. That's right. Why is that like that? What the hell? Okay, there we go. Whopper of a world record. The day after beating Illumina by 5 seconds, coming out of nowhere. People haven't heard of him. He beats Illumina. The next day, he destroys his own world record by over a minute and a half. TwoLetterName, 12 minutes, 9 seconds, February 26, 2021. What a run. What a run. Mamma mia. This was another ocean entry, just to let it sink in that that was about to explode as the new meta most of the time. There will be exceptions. I'm sure you might know what run I'm talking about. This was such an exciting run at the time purely because of the time cut, because of how well it was played, because he had beaten Illumina and then been like, okay, look, I know I barely beat Illumina, so let me just show you that I can really beat Illumina. I'm feeling another B tier on this one, honestly, which means I'm gonna have to do a little fiddling with this tier list here, because there we go. Looking good. Looking good, everybody. Nice work. Okay, that one's going in the B tier. Got a big run coming up next. That's right. It's FE666, otherwise known as the Iron Devil, but no one calls him that. The thing that everybody lost their minds at with this run was the Nether entry, which was really fast for the time. He entered at like 110 off a completable ruined portal, which nowadays 110 would just be like a really, really fast ocean entry. Look, I love FE666. I love the guy. All he did after getting this record was just sat back down and started grinding. He was one of those guys who for a really long time was one of the people running the most, at least on Twitch. He would run like 8 hours a day, running a couple hundred average viewers. He was really like, during the golden era of Minecraft 1.16 RSG speedruns, he was one of the staples of the community. However, it's not after the record that counts, and while this run does have a very exciting beginning when compared with the rest of the competition here, and I hate to do this, I'm gonna put this one in the D tier. I'm not liking the way this is looking. Okay, I'm gonna be wishy-washy again. God, I feel like where I put the Reignex and the FE666 runs are like sacrilege, but you know what? This is just one man's opinion. If you don't like it, I was gonna make an edgy joke. I'm not gonna do that. Next up, we have pretty big deal of a run. 1107 by the Sizzler. At the time, you know, it was really exciting because he was one of the longtime staples of the community. Everyone was sort of rooting for him. He had a whole thing about like overcoming his internal struggles and getting back on the grind and finally getting the record. This is it's a fun run to watch. It's very well played. We can't deny that. And it came, which I completely forgot about this in retrospect, it only came 4 days after FE666's record. But anyway, not a ton stands out about this one in retrospect. It was very cool at the time. I think I'm going to have to put this one in D tier. I have been waiting for this one. This one might be my favorite on the entire list. This is probably my favorite. It's Brentilda. Obviously, Brentilda. He used a divine travel and beat the world record by 1.5 minutes. And his record stood for, how long did it stand for? Let me crunch the numbers for you. It stood for like over half a year. It was iconic. No one, I mean, it was sub 10. No one expected a sub 10 to come anytime soon, and he just blew everyone else out of the water. There's really not enough I can say about this run in retrospect. Like, it used divine travel, which was like crazy to viewers at the time. It was like he went 6 for 6 on blaze rods for darn sake. I remember how stressful the one cycle was, like when he almost slipped up and like barely got into place in time, and then oh my god, and he was almost crying when the run ended, and this run meant so much to the community. This is my favorite 1.16 world record, and I think that's not an unpopular opinion at all. This one goes up in S tier, not to be outdone by another iconic record, Cube 1337X's 908, which broke I believe the longest world record drought the longest world record drought in the history of the category, I think to this day. Although, it seems pretty likely to me, at least fairly likely, that Zylenox's current world record might stand longer than Brentilda's, but we'll see. I could definitely be wrong about that. Regardless, this run was a huge deal at the time. It was just like months and months and months of anticipation from the community. People were starting to lose hope. Not hope, but people were starting to lose interest. Like, just people were playing the category less because Brentilda's run was so hard to beat. But Cube did it. He did it in style. It remains a very fun run to watch. It has aged well gameplay-wise. I think this one deserves nothing less than A tier. Nothing less. Now, for as significant as this next run was, 837 by Sagi Enderman being the first ever sub 9, and also breaking an incredibly long world record drought, the second longest behind the Brentilda one, this run hasn't been very, it doesn't seem like it's been very well remembered to me. Like, people don't really talk about it anymore, or at least me personally. It might just be a personal thing. I don't really think about it very often. It was another instance of a not well established runner breaking the world record, and it was kind of controversial at the time because there was a lot of assholes in the community who were saying, like, this run wasn't played perfectly and therefore it wasn't deserved. I think the problem with that statement is obvious, and I really want to give this run its flowers for breaking a minute barrier as late in the progression of the game as it did, which is increasingly rare. I mean, who knows if or when the 7-minute barrier is going to be broken. And this is just the second to last minute barrier before that, but given that it really has not stuck in my mind, and if that's not the case for you guys, my apologies. I think I'm going to have to put this one in B tier. B tier. We have just 2 left, everybody. We're almost at the end. Thank you so much for watching if you've made it this far. I know this is totally different from the videos we usually make, so if you're around right now, I really appreciate you. And, you know, if you like the video, please give it a like, comment down below. I'm sure I will get lots of comments disagreeing with me on this. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. You won't regret it, except for when we never upload videos anymore, but that... Next, we have 8:15 by Doog. We absolutely love this record. Doog is a bit of a mechanical savant. He's like an elite Bed Wars player. Watching him play is like addicting. Like, he's just so good. It's like what I was talking about with Illumina earlier with the 1353, but better. In fact, I think I'm going to put this in B tier and bump Illumina down. That's what I'm feeling right now, because Illumina's run was really cool. But at the end of the day, even Illumina wasn't as mechanically elite in that run as Doog was in this one. We're down to our final run of the video. I haven't even really thought about where I'm going to put this. I genuinely... So we have, of course, last, but pretty much the opposite of least, we got 745 by the one and only Zylenox, who, by the way, after getting this run, broke the 8:15 former record again with another low 8-minute run. Like, he's just that cracked. And this run is just, it means a lot. Like, the 8-minute barrier, I'm not going to go out and say it's the last minute barrier that will ever be broken. But it is possible that it's the last minute barrier that will ever be broken. And for a long time, like back in the days where we were, and I've been saying we a lot in this video. I'm not a speedrunner. None of the credit for this goes to me, obviously. It's just faster in my brain to say we. When the community was hunting for like the first sub 10, sub 8 was kind of seen as like the final barrier at the time. Not that people thought like it was impossible to get a sub 7, but that was kind of just where the natural end point was. And so for this to finally happen, especially with Zylenox, who has gotten a lot of like incredible paces over the past couple years, like really some of the best paces we've ever seen that didn't end up paying off, for him to finally just put it all together, break the world record by 30 seconds at this point, this has got to be an A tier run. This has got to be A tier. And who knows, maybe time will lead this to be an S tier run. Like, if this never gets beaten, it's got to be an S tier run. There you have it. That's my tier list. It's not really balanced the way a tier list should be, but in my defense, I like Minecraft speedrunning. Obviously, all of these runs, even the ones in the lower half, extremely respectable, exciting. I just want to say, shout out to almost all of these runners. They are incredible at what they do. I'm going to be linking them all in the description. If you haven't heard of any of these guys, which if you're watching this channel, you probably have heard of all of these guys, but if you haven't, go, you know, drop them a subscribe on their channels, follow them on Twitch maybe. I mean, it's the least we can do. We can show them some support. We can show them some love. And with that said, I want to show you guys some love for watching this video, for sticking around to the end with a sort of new type of video that we haven't really done on the channel, at least not recently. So I really, really appreciate you guys. I hope you liked the video. Let me know down in the comments if you did. If you didn't, I'll probably know anyway when it tanks and gets 10 out of 10. But hey, that's life. I promise 3 videos by the end of March. I am counting the YouTube short. Eat it. I'm counting the YouTube short. We got this video. We got a video coming out tomorrow. You guys didn't expect us to do it. We did it. And we got lots of content coming for you this year. We are in college. It's been slower. It is what it is. But we're working hard for you. And I hope you're enjoying. So, with all that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.